Hello and welcome to a podcast where I interview artists and animators. I'm not really sure what I'm going to name it, and it's just kind of, just trying a new thing here. I'm not really an interviewer, so bear with me for these first couple episodes. I'm sure I'll get the hang of it over time, but I had a lot of fun interviewing David Razi, aka Technical Dave. He has a YouTube channel where he makes a storyboarded show about his life in art school. It's got a lot of his comedy in it, a lot of his wit, a lot of his charm. It's really good. I recommend you start from the first episode and just watch up to current day episodes. It's really funny. In fact, I'm gonna roll a clip. So here is Technical Dave.
I had still yet to witness a true college party and took their existence on hearsay, but I showed up fairly early while Dave was setting up his playlist, expecting a fairly low-key night myself. An hour later, I was dancing around in a Darth Vader mask to music I could not identify after having been interviewed by a man with a cactus. Troops of golems filtered out of a basement of suspicious design and indeterminate size. A tenant, affectionately named Warpig, stumbled drunkenly through phone cables and thumbtacks to retrieve personal pizzas. Bizarre rituals took place in the backyard. Somewhere, a couple was mating. Dave stole a trampoline, apparently. And the strangest of all, I was having fun.
And now that you know what his comedy's like, now that you know what his show is like, I'm going to just get into the interview. So enjoy the episode and let me know what you guys think in the comments. Wait, what's up? You cut out.
I said art and love are deeply intertwined.
Wow. That's so deep. Ladies and gentlemen, David Razi.
Saying something no one has ever said before.
Dave, thanks for coming on. Thanks for being the first guest. Assuming this podcast goes awry, then you're probably like the second. I don't know. But
okay.
yeah.
It's going to be one of those things where the episodes are filmed out of order and then like one actor's missing and they're like, what happened? Like, oh, it was a production schedule thing.
See, you've been doing Tech Dave on YouTube for a while now. Like what,
Yeah.
4 years?
About, I think it's,
longer?
Oh my God, I think it's
7?
like 7 years,
7 years
at this point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you got a lot of episodes out for like someone who's doing hand-drawn content on YouTube. I think you might have a record in terms of episodes.
Oh, that's sad.
Don't quote me on that.
I won't, because
Well,
I'm
it's not-
pretty sure, well, shit, like even, oh geez, are we allowed to use the cuss words?
Sure, go ahead.
Like Pencilmation has got way more than me for sure. I can think of that right
Yeah,
off the
but
top
they're
of
a
my head.
studio. They're a full studio. They got
I
a
guess
staff of animators.
That's true. I'm a single dude.
You're one
Yeah, I
guy.
got,
Sometimes you get help, but it's only for the meme of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
basically. I'm
But,
in like the 60-ish.
It's really smart because you do storyboard style stories with like voiceover and you don't full animate it, even though I constantly get on you about like, dude, you could just throw an in between there and it'd be like it looked like it's moving.
That sounds so easy to you animators. Don't forget, I'm an illustrator. And,
Yeah, that's true.
I was like, look, I can either teach myself to animate, get bored, not do it, and never make Tech Dave, or I can just half-ass it with the skills I have and at least put something up.
Well, it's way far from being half-assed, but you do have an episode about what you were deciding to do when you were at Sheridan College. There was this animator who you had this like little beef with a little bit, and he went on to do animation, and you went on to do illustration.
He's such an unbelievably nice guy. I'm sure he never thought twice about it. He was like such a genuine, kind person, and I was just like, man, fuck this guy. And not even, I guess, but like worried that he thought that about me. I was worried he was like, fuck that guy about me.
Yeah.
But he wasn't. He's so nice. And
And
then you ran into him later and is like, hey man, I'm glad things are working out for you. I'm glad things are working out for you. Oh,
Yeah.
and that the girl in the episode, they're married. They have daughters. I ran into him at a convention. Like everything
Whoa.
it all worked out for them. They're great.
Wow.
Yeah.
So links to this episode that we're talking about, as well as other links if they come up in conversation, will be in the description. So if you want some context after this, go in the description, watch the episode. In fact, you should probably just binge watch the entire series. It's really binge watchable, especially if you want to know about art school, you want to know about Dave, you want to hear some comedy, some cynicism. It's really funny and really good. But moving on from that,
binge watching it could make you feel winded.
Yeah, I binge watched it and I felt fantastic, and you will too if you do it. But and I'm gonna say my least favorite thing that kids always say in critique. I don't know if they said it in critique when you were at art school, but they always say,
I'll find out in a second.
To piggyback off what they said, which I freaking hate that.
Yeah,
but to
we didn't have that exact
off
wording. But yeah, like, going off of what Mark said before, like, oh my god.
To ride your back like a human horsey.
Yeah.
What did you feel like at your college there was competition amongst artists? Was it a very competitive school? And did the professors kind of facilitate a competitive atmosphere?
You have just opened up a Pandora's box.
Oh, thank goodness.
That could be like easily a couple of episodes. Okay, so my school, depending on the sort of you expect it to like not be cliquey, but it is kind of cliquey. Clicky, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I thought you meant Glee, like Glee. Like there's a lot of singing kids.
There was, oh god, but we avoided them. No, like CLIQUE. Like it was, there were lots of groups that they all worked together and they were like uplifting each other, but they also kind of hated each other.
What?
I feel like there were a lot of kids in illustration and maybe in other fields as well, but they were already sort of like in a professional sense building friendships based on who they think could help their career.
Okay.
And that became especially evident between third and fourth year when we went off to do, between third and fourth year, you have to go do a co-op. You go off into the workplace, and like during that and after when we came back for fourth year, it was very much like these people don't hang out anymore because they're going to different fields. And it's like, that's a waste of my time. And, you know, well, that guy's not going to be famous, so I don't really care. I'm not going to hang out with him anymore. And, our program was divided into interpretive and technical, obviously, and hence technical Dave. And in the interpretive kids, that was so much more prevalent because there were 3 different classes of like 20-ish kids each or so. And the technical class was just the 13 of us. It was very small. And we were all, I want to say we were like all best friends, but we were all pretty close, and we never, we were all like really close and helped each other out. And there was almost no competition because we all wanted to be a different type of technical illustration, I guess.
Okay.
And we all had all our classes together, but the interpretive, there's 3 separate classes of kids, and they don't all see each other, and they all have different groups of friends. And interpretive is a lot more competitive because it's the vast majority of illustration. I guess it's drawing in like all kinds of kids, and they're all end up gunning for like the same 5 jobs.
Yeah. So Sheridan was a big school, I take it? If there had to be 3 separate classes of interpretive kids?
Yeah, well, our graduating year was like 70-something students, but they took in like 110 or some crap at the beginning.
It's probably bigger now.
And that's
I know
per
like
year.
that school keeps getting bigger. It's got a really good reputation. And it seems like the reputation is getting better. It's become like this Canadian CalArts.
Oh, if you say so? I haven't looked into it, actually. I feel like it would be...
It's known internationally. When I was looking at art schools, it was on my list, and it was like the only out of U.S. art school that I even considered.
Wow. Well, I know that for animation, it's kind of a big deal. I don't know about in illustration, which is what I took. I don't know if that's... I know we were in chief competition with Savannah.
Savannah, never heard of them. Sounds like you guys won.
I guess so, but I know that most of their illustration program was kind of aping ours. So at least at the time, we were the front runner. I don't know how it is now.
Yeah.
But you've got like 100 kids per year and then 4 years of class, right? So the illustration program is like 400 plus, and then you've got all the art fundamentals kids, a lot of whom are going to go into illustration.
Yeah.
And then all the animation kids and all the other visual blah, blah, blah. It's loads of arts kids.
Yeah. So people were kind of cliquey at your school. It's weird because at my school, I go to a state school in the U.S. here, and it's a pretty good school, got a really good art program, and it seems like the entire art department, no matter what your field is, knows each other and is pretty good friends. But that's also, they lump us together. They don't separate us by skill because there's not enough art students to separate by skill.
It's just
there's not a lot
kids.
of animators or whatever, but it's getting, my school's getting bigger, and it's getting like, there's more and more art students going there all the time. It's good professors, great school. So at Sheridan, did you guys feel like you were gonna be competing for jobs when you graduated? Were you guys all like, we're gonna stay in Canada, we're gonna stay in, what is Sheridan, Toronto?
Sheridan is in Oakville, Ontario, which is my
Ontario.
Hometown, it's a suburb of Toronto. Yeah.
Yeah. So, do you guys think you're gonna be competing for jobs? Did you all know like where you wanted to work, what you wanted to do?
Well, see, here's the thing. When we were sort of going into the program, technical illustration was largely an in-house thing. So you'd go to a company and they'd have in-house illustrators, and then you hopefully get a job at one of those companies or firms. And you've got technical things and scientific and medical.
Wait, real quick, let's take a step back. What
Sure.
For the audience that doesn't know, myself included,
Sure.
what is technical illustration?
Okay, so illustration, this was sort of an arbitrary decision made at my school at Sheridan. They were like, we've got to teach illustration, and there's so many different kinds. How can we really simply break it down so we can provide the best education? And they decided to break it into technical and interpretive. And technical, basically the way they explained it to us, was any kind of illustration that can be right or wrong. So a medical drawing, a diagram inside a body, an architectural drawing, how things fit together and how they work, building renders, all that kind of stuff, product illustration. And interpretive is everything else.
Everything that is wrong.
Well, everything that's open for interpretation.
Yeah.
If you can look at a drawing and there's a right or wrong way to do it, it's probably technical. Like if there's a medical illustration of a heart and it's got like 5 valves, they fucked up. But if that's a cartoon, you might be like, oh, it's just, I'm drawing it that way for fun, right? Like it's, like a cartoon heart is nothing like an actual medical heart.
Yeah.
So the interpretive.
Wait, what? I'm sorry.
Oh my god!
Okay, so
hold the phone.
You were saying technical artists, when they graduate, it's more of a studio job, or it's
Well,
more
it
of a
was.
company job.
It was, and then by the time we were graduating, this was 2009. By the time 2009 rolled around, those jobs did. I hear a dog.
Oh yeah.
Rab, 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 rab.
Let's put a pause. Sorry about that.
Oh sure.
Okay, so you graduated in 2009, and when you graduated,
Yeah,
The
the
technical
industry was sort
artists-
of changing.
okay,
The industry was sort of changing, so those types of jobs were becoming less and less common. I think we only had 2 or 3 people in my class that got internships like that,
yeah,
and now it was like all freelance. It was all online, and I hated that. So, but you know, all those positions that we were like afraid we were gonna have to compete for, they almost didn't exist anymore. And there was like one girl in our class was like, "Oh, I'm gonna go and do the master's degree for scientific illustration," and they only took 4 people a year. And I contemplated going for it, but I was like, no, I'd never get in anyway because the competition is so strict. She got it. She ended up getting it, but it was tight. Like that's 4 people for all the applicants, and they got like dozens and dozens of them.
wow.
So yeah, like we were worried about competing for jobs, but a lot of it ended up being freelance, and a lot of the technical stuff ended up being taken by the interpretives, who were sort of taught with varying degrees of accuracy from their teachers that they would be able to do. Like, oh, well, this stuff's getting really popular. We'll just teach you guys how to do infographics, and then we'd see them hanging up in the walls and the hallways, and they would be just awful. Very poorly made infographics. They're like, infographics are really in this year. The technical kids are doing it. We'll do it too. And they would do just a terrible job. And they might
I bet
look
the
neat,
interpretive
but
kids hated that. I bet that showed in their work.
No, they were like, oh, this is neat, but like they do
Really?
them wrong. Like they were having fun making them, but they would be like inaccurate or poorly display information.
Ah, okay.
You know, like they're not effective, but they're the kind of things that would get them hired, and that's sort of all that matters.
I feel like that at my school, at least, this kind of job or this kind of schooling is now just called graphic design, where it's like you learn all art. You're taught like an artist. You learn all fundamentals. You do interpretive stuff as well, but at the end of the day, they're going to put you in front of Illustrator, and you're going to make clean, nicely designed things.
Yeah, there's a big problem with people who get hired, or the people who do the hiring and what they're looking for, and they're like, oh, we want a graphic designer, and like what they really mean is they want a web designer.
Yeah.
Or they see what I do and they're like, oh, you're an animator. Like, I don't animate, I illustrate. Animations move. It's in the name. It's an English word. It's not animated. Like, yeah, man, I love comic strips. All those animations. Like, that is a totally different thing. So they're asking for the wrong things.
That makes me just as angry. I get commissioners that are like, can you do something animated? And I'm like, well, that'll take a while. And they're like, well, I just want like just a character and then a background. And I'm like, well, animated means moving. So...
Yeah, so not animated.
Yeah, so you want a cartoon. So you want a cartoon.
You just want like a static cartoon, yeah.
Yeah.
Some cartoons move and some don't, right? But in like the average person's mind, they always move.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. Yeah. So I want to keep this in college for a little bit. I know you do a whole series about this where you talk about your experience in college, and you're probably, every podcast you're on, they ask you about it. You're probably sick of talking about it because you're long graduated now, but here you are getting asked questions. But so you lived on campus, right? Or no, you commuted.
No,
what am I talking about?
I lived like 2 blocks away from campus.
You live 2 blocks away from your campus, and you have an episode about you live at home. But like there's parties on campus, and like the photo kids would party a lot.
Oh yeah, the photo kids were nuts.
A lot of great stories about what it was like to live at school. But if you were to do it all over again, would you? Well, of course you wouldn't, because you're older now. I look at it. I'm not going to go live on campus with a bunch of like 18, 19-year-olds. I'm like 26. But
yeah, for me that sounds like torture.
To anyone just getting into it, that art school campus lifestyle, like what was it like for you, and what might they expect now? Because I know things are different, but what might they expect?
Well, my school is a little more modern. The dorms were built, fairly recently, and they sucked. They were small. They were 2 people to a dorm. There was a little communal kitchen area and like bedrooms. The bedroom doors wouldn't lock for safety reasons. So, you get a crappy roommate, you're screwed. It felt like being in a hospital. I actually stayed there on a couple of occasions.
Wow.
They were sterile and awful, and like it was just like an apartment building kind of a thing. Like there weren't houses, or there was a security guard, no friends staying after like 9 p.m., like that kind of a thing. It was awful. It was not fun. So we didn't really have like on-campus fun. But there was lots of student houses nearby, which the city hated. They wanted students' money, but they didn't want you being in the town and, existing. And those were always, just a total disaster. A lot of fun. Great to go hang out at for a day, but you don't want to live there.
Yeah.
But I'm also, like, I'm a pretty neurotic and particular person. I would absolutely hate to live in like a crazy dorm student house, but for a lot of people it seemed to be the way to go.
Did people seem to be enjoying it?
Yeah.
Really?
Totally.
Was there anyone that showed up and they were like, oh, this looks like a hospital and I have to live here now?
Probably.
Or were they just like, no parents, I don't care what I'm living in?
Yeah, well, a lot of the dorms were like international students, so they were probably just like, whatever, I got a place, it's cool.
Yeah, that's true.
I would have hated it. If I could have lived in one of those student houses and that was like, I was going out of province or whatever, and that was an option open to me. Yeah, it probably would have been fun. I probably would have hated it half the time, but that's just who I am. I would recommend it if you're the type of person that can put up with it.
Yeah. I know I'm the kind of person that would hate it, so I definitely opted out.
Yeah.
But I'm older, so that's just how it is. Okay, so you got into illustration because you wanted to become a comic artist, right?
Yes.
And it's interesting how our careers kind of meander.
Oh yeah, totally. There was a time in my life where that's all I could think of being, and like it wavers a lot.
Yeah. So you wanted to become a comic artist. Yeah. You went to Sheridan. You got into technical drawing, and then what? Where did that take you?
Well, I got into technical drawing because I liked it a lot. It wasn't like, oh, I will do this as a career. It's like, I could do it as a career, and I'm good at it. I'm going to need to make money, which a lot of people forget about, right? They're like, oh, I have a passion for this. Like, right, but no offense, hate to burst your bubble. You need money. You got to live. You got to eat. So you got to take something you're decent at. And I was decent at that. And then I started, as I went through, I was like, you know what? I will get a job as a technical illustrator. I like this. And then those jobs kind of dried up and they became a lot more computer-based instead of traditional, like pen on paper. And I liked that less and less. I'm not as into computers as one might expect based on my career now. I know. And then I got out of college and I worked at a cafe and I did freelance medical illustration.
Wow.
And I don't like and some other assorted freelance jobs here and there, but I wasn't into freelancing. I never wanted to freelance. I wanted to work as an in-house illustrator. And like most artists, I hate selling myself and I hate feeling like a shill, and I'm not good at it. I don't know how. We're not salespeople, right? We're artists. It's a very different skill set. And so having to be an artist who sells themselves, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And I didn't want to learn. I was just like, ugh, this is so draining and exhausting, and I didn't want this. And then I was like, fuck this noise. I'm going to go teach English in Korea. Yeah. So I did, because I just needed a break from everything. So I did that for a year. That was fun. And then I came back and was like, well, I better figure this out. I need a job. Mm-hmm. And that's when my dad comes into the picture. Because my dad's been in printing his whole life. He's got like 40 years. Like he started being a printer before he even got out of high school. And he has a printing company now. And he's like, I need a pre-pressman, which is the computer end of things. And I was like, I do not want to be the boss's son.
So you said no, or?
I said no.
Yes. Oh, okay.
But then a couple months later, I did some freelance stuff. And a couple months later, he's like, I still need a pre-press guy.
And the freelance stuff wasn't doing as good, or?
Yeah, and I hated it. And I was like, how many times can I tell my dad I'd rather be unemployed than work for him?
Oh, no.
But I also didn't want to be like George Bailey, right? I was like, I got to get out of this fucking town. This sounds awful. I don't want to be the boss's son. I don't want to be stuck in this town. And I don't want to be in printing because he's miserable. And I don't want to end up like that.
Oh, no.
Or at least that was my perception, right? Like, we don't want to end up like our parents kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But I took the job and I was very reluctant to like accept it, because I was like, oh man, once I get stuck here, I'm fucked. But I'm actually pretty decent at the job. And, it's nice producing things. And like, it took me a while, but I was like, okay, I'm in my field. I'm using all the skills I was trained for in college. I'm making a decent buck and I get to see my dad every day. So I guess I should probably not complain and just be happy.
Yeah.
Especially in this economy.
So how long did you work there with your dad?
Well, I got the job 5 years ago. So 5 years. I'm still there.
Oh, you're still doing printing now?
Yeah, I'm a well, I don't know if anyone knows what a pre-pressman is, but I'm a pre-pressman.
Weren't you weren't you working at like a company for a little bit, like just doing some sort of web artwork or like stock design?
Yeah, that was
the freelance phase.
That was more freelance stuff.
Okay, I remember talking to you then. You were freaking miserable.
Correct.
Okay, yeah. Well, I've known you for a long time. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Okay, so a while ago we talked about like meandering career paths, and you're like, well, you got to make money, right? Your passion can't always pay you. So what you decided to do was you make things you're passionate about. Tech Dave is one of them. I assume you're still passionate about that. You're still doing it. So Tech Dave is one of them. It's something that you are always working on, and you actually post pretty consistently for an artist YouTuber.
Yeah,
you're also
I'd say it's pretty consistent.
Yeah, you also got a full-time job on the side.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the unfortunate reality is that we can't all, we're not all going to be astronauts, right? We're not all going to be the star quarterback. We can't all have our dream job. Yeah. We can't all have our dream job that pays $1 bajillion and we're emotionally satisfied all the time. Like, it's just a job, and you need a job and you got to make money and think about your future, and hopefully you get emotional satisfaction from that, but you could also do something else.
Yeah. And I think there's absolutely nothing wrong with like having a day job and then like maybe on the weekends or whatever, you get your passion projects. As long as you're always working on your passion projects, there's always some new opportunity for you to be creative.
Yeah. And I'd be afraid that if I was doing what I was passionate about as my job, I'd start to dislike it. I know there's the old saying, like,
that's true.
If you do something you love, you never work a day in your life. Okay, sure, but what happens when you start to see what you love as work? Like,
that's bullshit. No matter how much you love something, work is work. I love animation, and even on my personal projects, there's some grueling weeks where I'm like doing cleanup or something for like a week straight, like 8 hours a day. Ooh. And it's the hours get long, and it's just a part of life. It's a part of working.
Yeah,
it's part of being passionate and creative. It's like the curse to be creative.
Yeah, I've heard from certain people like, how do you do that? You draw something, like, how do you do it? Like, well, I don't know, you draw. I just do it. I see it in my head, and I put it on paper, and if I don't like the way it works, I do it again, But then I found out sort of recently, a few months ago, earlier this year, something like 40% of people literally cannot visualize in their head.
Really?
When you when you remember something and you see it as though your eyes turn off and your brain turns on, and you're just like, you're seeing it, but you're not seeing it with your eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is a massive percentage of people who literally cannot do that. And that's why when people are like, can you draw this out? I need to see it. And you're like, like all the time at work. Here's what this rough will look like. Oh, but I wanted that blue. I'm like, okay, well, it's going to look like this, but blue. And they'll be like, well, could you make it blue so I can see it? Just fucking imagine it that it's blue, so I'll have to send it to you, and they'll be like, oh, okay, I see it now. Okay, yes, it's approved.
Wow, that's almost hard to believe.
Yeah, and then I learned about,
because all these studies come out all the time, and you're like,
but
I don't know
what? I know what you're saying. Like,
how'd they test it? What?
Right.
Who were their test subjects?
But
what was their process to come to this conclusion? That's
honestly,
what I always
been asking them the questions. When you see things in their head, and they're like, no. And it sounds wild, but with the percentage of people who just don't seem to be able to grasp visualization or whatever, I would believe it.
And we're no scientists here, so this is all speculation. But
this is all speculation.
This part is, at least.
There are so many non-creatively minded people that I feel like it's a handicap to not be able to see in your own brain. I feel bad for them, Josh.
Well, do you think it's something that is developed? Like they stop being creative as a kid, so they're no longer creative, right? Because they say people are as good as drawing as when they stop drawing. So most people have like a kindergarten level art skills. So do you think do you think it has to do with how they're raised? Like they just stop being creative, so their brain stops growing in that part of their brain? Or do you think it's just you're born? Do you think it's like a genetic thing where you can either see things in your head or you're not, or you can't?
Oh, I'd say it's absolutely genetic.
You think it's genetic?
That kind of thing would definitely be genetic. But someone pursuing creativity, I'd say it's half of each. Like if someone pursues it, they're going to get better at it. But certain people, like I don't know how much experience you have with kids, but you have a grasp of a kid's personality like pretty solidly.
Yeah.
Like when you see a kid, you're like, oh, they're like, that's just how they are, and you get it right away.
Yeah, like you'll see a kid and you'll see him like pick up his food and then throw it on his sister and then like scream. And you're like, yeah, I know this asshole. I know exactly what this kid's going to grow up to be. Or like ask your parents, ask him some little anecdote about your childhood, and they'll say something you did at like 2 or 3 years old, and you're like, wow, that sounds exactly like me. Like there's certain things I don't need to ask. They tell me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was always this person. I was just always a diva. I would go to my friends' houses when I was in like pre-kindergarten, and they'd like be messy food on their face. And I'd be like, these kids are messy. Take me home.
I will not have this.
I once didn't go to a friend's house. I stood outside and waited for my mom to pick me up because their house was stinky. I was so prissy. But okay, enough about me. So here's a big question. Do you think do you think artistic ability is something you're born with or you inherit, or do you think it's something you learn? And depending on your answer, we're either going to agree or have an argument. So, so Be wise.
Well, I think that the answer to this is sort of dependent upon the answer to the previous question.
No, don't jump around.
I'm serious. If someone cannot properly visualize, they will never be able to be properly creative.
You think so?
I do. I think that's all part of it. And some people are just not creative and they have no interest in being creative and they just don't care. If someone if someone wants to be creative, like, then they just got to work at it. Like, they will be. They want to be. Mm-hmm. If you want to try and figure things out. I mean, you've seen some of the things that get made.
Yeah.
They're terrible, but people are ambitious and they're trying their hardest to create.
Yeah, but most of these times, these terrible things are from people that are like, this will make us money. And they're by people who don't value creativity. They never learn how to be creative.
I mean,
they
like
don't
the
value
Tommy Wiseaus of the world.
Yeah.
Right, like there are people who make movies and books and comics and TV shows.
Yeah, but Tommy Wiseau, his goal wasn't to make art. His goal was to be famous.
True,
and that's why his movies stunk, is because he was looking for fame.
Well, no, his movies suck because he has no, like, concept of how the human brain works.
He's also just a weird dude. Like,
agreed, but
yeah.
Okay, fine, rough example, but there are loads of filmmakers who are homogeneously incompetent in every way, and they're still like, no, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna put things out. And they really try their hardest. And while it's laughable what they produce sometimes,
yeah,
they're trying and they have determination and they get out there and they make their movies.
You think they're really okay? Because I'm like, in my head, I'm picturing bad movies, and in all of these movies, they were just cash grabs. Like, I'm like, the two Jurassic World movies, probably worst movies ever made.
I'm not talking about blockbusters.
Okay, you're talking about independent films that are bad.
Studios, yeah.
Okay, fair, but those filmmakers usually get better if they keep trying.
Right. Exactly my point. They get better.
Yeah. Well, you gotta be bad to be good.
They are terrible, and they work at it, and they eventually get good.
Okay,
hopefully.
So you don't think that art is a skill you're born with, or creativity is a skill you're born with?
I think the drive to create or be creative is something that is sort of innate that you're probably born with. But some people are going to be very good at or better at it. Mm-hmm. And other people will have to work harder at it. It's a little bit of nature and a lot of nurture.
Okay, we disagree and we agree. I agree that some people have to work harder than others. But I think that's the case with everything, right? So yeah, yes. I agree with that. But I also think that being an artist isn't something you're born with. I think it's something you're either exposed to and you just like it. You end up really liking that, or you're encouraged to do it when you're younger, so you get good at it. And I think that's all it is. I don't think you're born a talented artist. I think everyone has to
I never said anyone's born talented. I said I'm saying born an artist. Let me put it this way. If no one watched Tech Dave when I put it up. Right.
Wait, no one watched Tech Dave when what?
When I put it up, when I first made it, I didn't have people agreeing that they would watch it in advance. I put it up thinking no one would give a shit.
Yeah.
And if no one watched it, I would keep making it because I am compelled to make it, right? It's a compulsion.
And that's why it's a great show.
Well, thank you. My butt's for sitting, not for kissing. But I mean, like, my whole life, I have always drawn things or written things, writing especially. And I've never really had an audience initially, right? But I just did it because it's what I do, because I feel weird not doing it, and I feel like I have to do it. It's compulsive.
Yeah.
And I feel like creative people are sort of the same way. They do their thing. They doodle on things, or they write things, or they make music, or they paint, and no one else sees it, but they're like, this is just a thing that I do. It's something I have to do. It's part of their personality.
Mm-hmm. Well, let me ask you this. When you were a kid, did you experimented with artwork? Because we all experiment when we're kids, right?
Especially in college.
Did your parents encourage you or discourage you? Were your teachers like, stop doing that in class? Or were they like, oh, this is so wonderful, look at him go? And they're like, you should do that.
No, my parents encouraged me, and my teachers generally noticed, like, I'm sure teachers notice that some kids just tend to be more into art. Mm-hmm. Right, and they just sort of roll with it. My parents were always behind it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so yeah, you kind of you weren't like discouraged as a kid, so you probably
I was not discouraged. No.
Yeah, Yeah, you're like, this is good to do. I like doing this, and people don't mind that I do this.
Yeah, like I start doing it, and then people will be like, "Oh, that's good," and they're like, "Oh, I guess I like it," and they don't seem to care. They don't have negative feelings about it, so I will keep doing it.
Okay, so hard transition right now. Freaking.
Oh, geez, whiplash.
Yeah, maybe if I'm not lazy enough, maybe if I edit this, I'll freaking put an explosion there, tire screeching. But so your series Tech Dave, you've been doing this for a while.
Yeah.
How much longer do you think you can see yourself making these? Is that even something you thought about or want to think about?
It's something I have thought about, and it's something I don't particularly enjoy thinking about. You're asking a lot of questions that I actually address in the episode I'm working on right now.
Oh shit! Okay, we can skip it if you want.
No. It's I will make it as long as I feel compelled to. I don't like the idea of not finishing college.
Yeah.
I don't feel like the story would be complete if I didn't get all the way up to the end of 4th year. But at the pace I'm going, that's hundreds of episodes. That's not realistic.
Yeah.
So there's a very, like, I always sort of imagined that I would just keep going, and then when I would sort of accelerate the pace of the timeline when I was just like, okay, I've had enough of this, we just got to move it along. And, because I wouldn't want to not end it, but I certainly don't want to do this my entire life. I enjoy making it now. And, I mean, I don't want my audience to outlive me, Jeez. At the rate it's going, it's taken me 7 years to get through 3 years of college.
Well, it's a really detailed show, and it's a lot of, like, you can tell the episodes, like, they're like, some of them are like 10 minutes long, some of them are freaking long to make. Even if it's just storyboarded, you color everything, so it's like that's like hundreds of illustrations, right? So it takes a long time. So the reason I asked that other question, and this I'm sure you've gotten asked before, probably by me, but have you ever thought about pitching Technical Dave to like a studio, making it like an animated series, just being the head writer? No, you don't like this idea.
I don't. I've thought about it, and I've thought that I don't like the idea for a couple of reasons.
Okay.
One, I honestly don't think that it would get picked up. Two, I don't feel like an animated series is right for the narration. Like a lot of the times in comments on like Newgrounds or YouTube or whatever, someone will be like, this would be better if it was animated. And honestly, I disagree. I don't think Tech Dave should be animated. I think it's a narration first and foremost, and the visuals accompany it. And if it was animated, it would be distracting, and I wouldn't be able to have those still gags or written things down. It's more like a stand-up routine with like pictures to accompany it, or like a comic book. It's more like a comic book than a cartoon. And also, these are real life events. And
if that's true.
I pitched it into a show, I would have to change them, or I would have to get permission or something. There's legal ramifications in there somewhere.
I get it. That's totally
and
fair.
Also, they would be like, oh, we got to change things, like, because they're like some studio, and I'm not, like, this is my life. I'm not changing it. I don't want anyone else to have control over the story of how I tell the story of my life,
Yeah, agreed. And Technical Dave, I honestly wouldn't want anyone putting their hands in it too. As a fan of the series, it's my series. Don't, because I'm a fan. That's how fans are nowadays.
Yeah.
Either way, you said you do.
I don't owe you nothing, Josh.
You said it's like stand-up. That's an interesting way of putting it. I would say, like, yeah, I agree. It is. You have a lot of like setup to punchline kind of jokes, and you do tell a story with like jokes in it as well. It is very much like a stand-up. Have you thought about doing stand-up?
Yes.
Have you tried?
No.
Are you going to?
No, I don't.
Why not?
Well, I wouldn't know where to start. First of all, I wouldn't know where to start. And second of all, the comedian in my relationship is my beautiful and talented wife, Hannah.
Well, yeah, but just because you guys are both funny
face.
doesn't mean you couldn't do stand-up.
She's giving me a face right now.
She's giving you a what?
She's giving me a disapproving glare.
A true comedian.
I feel like I wouldn't be good at it. I don't know. You have to be really good on your feet to do stand-up. And
you've always seemed pretty good on your feet.
well, I have.
I don't know. I think
balance,
you're just not giving yourself enough credit.
Well, I also get accused of that a lot too. She's giving me the bird right now.
Hannah's such a freaking goofball.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I feel like I would bomb and take it terribly. I don't have... Like, I have a thick skin. I have confidence. I like myself. Without being arrogant, I think. Although a lot of people will think that. Like, they mistake my joking self-aggrandizement for face value, which is confusing. But but I don't think I have a thick enough skin for stand-up. And I wouldn't even know what to talk about.
Yeah,
It's a very specific type of entertainment.
Okay, you just mentioned right now about like how people will assume you're a certain way.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Hey, you don't go to a lot of conventions and stuff, huh?
No.
But you've gone to like Pico Day. Has a fan ever like ran into you in real life?
Oh, dude, dozens of times.
Dozens.
Yeah, for real.
Do you feel like they expect you to be the same guy from your show?
Yes. And okay, here's the weird thing. When I lived downtown Toronto, I would get recognized on an almost regular basis, like every couple of months for years. Or when I would go downtown even before that. I got recognized in Korea from some other dude.
Whoa.
I didn't. Yeah. It's weird because without even realizing it, I will turn on, like stage persona on. And then they leave, and then I'm like, what the fuck was that? What happened?
Wait,
it's totally subconscious.
Oh, sorry, you like cut out for a second.
Oh, I was saying how, when you run into someone, you sort of turn on to like stage mode, and then they leave, and you're like, what the fuck is that? What happened to me?
See, maybe you would be good at
very
stand-up.
Subconscious.
Maybe you got the showman in you, and you're just scared to let him out.
Oh, maybe. I don't know. I feel like... I don't know. It's bizarre. Because, of course, real life who you are is not like who you are when you're recording or when you're on stage or whenever you're, doing a bit or things like that. And... I don't know. Afterwards, you always feel a little odd because you're like, did I say or do anything weird? Like you want it to be nice for them. They're like, oh my God, are you, Dave Razi or whatever? Like, yes, I am. And then you're like, oh geez, I guess I can't be in a bad mood now. I have to be affable.
Yeah.
At least for the duration of this. And then you're like, oh, was I like, scratching my butt or what was I? Did they see anything unpleasant for them?
Do they know I'm a human?
Yeah. I've run into people like just at like H&M or at like a video store. One time I was with my wife and her parents, and we were at like a Christmas festival, and I ran into someone, and it was like, great, that was in front of her parents. This legitimizes my fame to them. Oh, okay. Yeah. Hannah says it was a group of 4 Lolita girls who recognized me.
4 Lolita girls?
My parents had no idea of anything that was going on except for the fact that you were getting recognized.
Okay, well, they were impressed that I got recognized. And I was like, yes, in front of her parents. That helps. And I went to a college once in Michigan and like gave a speech. That was super cool.
Oh, yeah,
and
I remember that.
I was treated like royalty for the weekend.
Didn't you do a Tech Dave episode about that?
No, I did. I prepared a whole speech for them.
Oh, okay.
And then like I analyzed the recording of it afterwards to make sure I didn't make an idiot out of myself. Yeah. The only live action things I have Tech Dave episodes about are my wedding speech and my best man speech for my best friend's wedding.
Oh, okay. You're really into writing, and I think you're really good at it. Have you ever thought about making something else for a pitch? Have you ever thought about making some sort of thing that you could pitch?
Yeah, totally. I just wouldn't know what it would be or who I would go to, because you got to hit that zeitgeist. It's got to be the right thing at the right time. And I wouldn't even, no matter what I went with, I would feel completely unprepared. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I'm working on something, and maybe next time I do a writer's room call, I'll throw you in there, because that would be fun to have your ideas in this as well.
We gotta have gratuitous, constant, full frontal nudity.
We gotta see the full Monty, or I'm out.
Dave, it's a kids show. They gotta learn at some point.
See, you're already coming.
Biology's nothing to be ashamed of.
Okay, so now feel free to not answer this, but what's the next Tech Dave about?
The next Technical Dave is about my webcomic.
About your webcomic?
Yeah, like every sucker back in the early 2000s, I had a webcomic. And I had made it for 4 years, and it was the end of first year of college, and I was like, this is stupid. I gotta kill this. I quit my job. My girlfriend broke up with me. First year was ending. I just wanted to get rid of everything. I'm done with this. And so I was like, I gotta end it. So I ended my webcomic. And so this is me talking about having made a webcomic and how they used to be a really, really big deal. And I mean, they're still around now, but they're not quite the big deal they were.
Oh, I don't know, man. There are some comics out there that are breaking numbers, and comic artists are doing fantastic on Patreon.
Agreed. There's lots of great stuff like that, but I mean, there was a time when webcomics first came around. Well, not when they first came around. When they first became big, it seemed like they were going to take over comics completely. Yeah. And that was when I started making mine. And so this is just a look back at that, and then when I stopped making my comic and what it was. And I get asked about it a lot over the years, and I was always like, it's embarrassing, no. And I was like, whatever. Anyone with Google can find it. I may as well just talk about it now. So I'm doing that.
Wait, is it still uploaded?
Oh yeah, I don't have the password to take it down.
Are you gonna link us to it in the Tech Dave episode? Put a little link in the description.
Yes.
Yeah, you are.
Why not?
You definitely should. Yeah, I bet it's great.
It is so awful.
See, I don't know. You always say that about yourself, but then I end up liking it. So we'll see.
I honestly feel like my art has gotten worse over the years. I'll look back at some of my webcomic art, and I'm like, wow, I could really shade well, or I used to draw buildings or something like that. So I feel like in some ways I've gotten better, and in others I've definitely gotten worse.
Do you feel like you've gotten better at things that you like to draw now, and stuff you don't like to draw you're not really good at anymore?
Yeah, that's probably a fairly accurate assessment.
Do you think art's like a muscle, and drawing different types of stuff is working out different muscle groups?
Totally. Yeah, it's a use it or lose it kind of a situation. I would always tell people, I used to get asked advice a lot. I used to be very active on Tumblr, and I'd get people asking advice constantly, which was weird, but also made me feel helpful.
Yeah.
And one of the pieces of advice I would give out always was draw things you hate drawing.
Really?
Oh, I hate drawing animals, so I just don't draw them. That's not how you get good at drawing animals. Draw animals. Yeah. Draw feet, draw cars, draw bicycles. Bicycles are I hate drawing bicycles, so I made it a point to draw them for a while.
Yeah.
It's the only way you're going to get better, and you probably just hate doing it because it's intimidating, but when you get good at it, it won't be intimidating anymore.
I think that is very true, and I've definitely lived that. When I first started animating, I'd have to make my own backgrounds, but I hated making backgrounds because I was so terrible at it. And so all I did was make backgrounds for a while, and now it's my favorite part of the animation process, and I'll just I'll just paint environments for fun now. So that's definitely fantastic advice. Maybe you hate it because you're just not good at it, for sure.
I'm taking credit for you drawing backgrounds now. Yes. Score 1 for Dave.
Do you know the Blender Guru at all?
The Blender
Guru. He teaches people Blender on YouTube.
Dating app?
Yes, the dating app. He had a TED Talk about learning how to draw, because he's a 3D artist and he wanted to do 2D art. And he said your brain hates things that it doesn't want to do. It wants to avoid pain, so it'll come up with excuses and reasons to like resist you from trying this new thing. So you'll convince yourself that you're like, I don't like drawing horses, but really it's your brain telling you that that's gonna be hard. And why do the hard thing? Why draw the hand when you can put it in a pocket? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, I'll just avoid it entirely. Success. Here's some endorphins.
Also, I have to like PSA. If you avoid drawing hands and you try to use a cheeky little thing to hide it, people know. People will see that. Professors and studios and artists that have been around for a while will catch that, and they'll see that you're trying to avoid hands. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Draw the hand.
It's like Rob Layfield in The Feet.
It's like what?
Comic artist, famous for not being able, like, he can draw feet, but like he wouldn't. He would just always cut off the character like at the ankles or like hide it behind something. It's like, dude, you can't do that.
Yeah, that guy's fired.
It looks like you. Oh no, he's been around for decades.
No, I'm firing him right now.
Oh, okay. But yeah, it became like this big joke. Like, can you not draw them? And he can. He just refuses to, and it's a bad look because it looks like you're inept.
Okay, I want to ask, like, I don't know if it's just because the Tech Dave series is so well paced and so well written, and because it's true, I feel like, and you've shown there's been episodes where it's like you seem like you're completely lost, like you're like this Dave guy in this episode right here in his life is just currently lost. Like you said, like your girlfriend broke up with you. You're like, I don't know if I want to be a comic artist anymore. And you feel like your pathway through life as an artist is like really fuzzy.
Yeah.
Is that like, do you feel like you've really gone through moments like that in your life?
Yeah. I feel like I do a fairly accurate job of representing how I felt at the time. Although I didn't like outwardly display it as much. It's sort of how I felt inside.
Yeah.
And that is my acting ability.
And now you got Tech Dave, right? You got a wife who you very much love.
Yeah.
And you seem happy.
Yes.
So to anyone out there that's like, maybe they're about to go to art college or they're having a crappy time as an artist and they don't know what they want to do, they're in a transitional period, what advice would you give them?
Well, that's tough.
That's
a whole lot of advice.
It's general.
Narrow down.
Yeah, it's a general question.
Well, I mean, if it helps, I'm happier now than I've ever been in my entire life. And I have everything I could ever ask for. Within reason. I don't have that castle on the moon yet. But there was a time not too long ago where I didn't believe any of this would be possible, or that I'd ever really even know what happiness was, like real happiness, like where people are contented deeply inside. Like I was very cynical about it. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, that's for movies and TV shows. No one really feels that way. And now I have it.
Wow.
So these things do happen. So if you feel lost and confused in this lonely, mixed up universe of ours, there's always the possibility for things to get better. You're gonna change what you want. I look back on what I used to want, and current me is like, well, that was dumb. I would not want that now. So if you aren't getting what you want now, you're gonna change anyway, and in a few years you wouldn't have even wanted that thing, so don't sweat it so much. Oh, I really wanted to be a world-renowned abstract art gallery proprietor. Well, by the time you ended up getting that, you might not have even wanted it, so don't worry so much if you miss that that opportunity you've convinced yourself is perfect, and my whole life is ruined because I didn't get that one thing. Happiness is not made of those little things. It's what you make of it. Your life won't be better because you have that one little extra thing. You're just one purchase or one promotion away from being happy. It doesn't really work that way.
See, now that was a big question, but I knew you could handle it. I knew you'd stick the landing.
Oh, you.
As general as it was.
Well, the landing's the most important part.
Okay, so a while ago, you were kind of new to the Newgrounds scene, and I convinced you to upload Technical Dave to Newgrounds. How right was I, and how much better are things for you after doing so?
This is true. I had not considered even for a second that my videos would be appropriate for Newgrounds, even though I'd been on Newgrounds for like literally since it began. As like a lurker. And then you specifically, yes, you, Josh Chambers, were like, you have to put them up there. And I did. And it was great because everyone there was very cool and supportive. And I've gotten some of the best and some of the most hateful comments ever there. And I gotta be honest, I love the hateful comments. They are always amazing.
What's amazing about them?
They're hysterical. I used to do comment of the week. Some of the things people think I think about myself are just out of this world. But it's the highest highs and the lowest lows, and I wouldn't have it any other way. And I met all kinds of crazy cool people and have had an absolute blast. Yes, Josh, thank you. I owe you so much for that ascendancy from YouTube plebeian to Newgrounds Chad God tier artist extraordinaire.
I mean, okay, to be fair, you'd considered putting them on Newgrounds. You just didn't know if they would be accepted. You wanted to, but you're like, I don't know if, like, is that what Newgrounds wants?
I thought I'd get blamed immediately.
Yeah, exactly. But it's a community of artists, and of course they love videos about art and art school. Do you avoid YouTube comments, or do you read them all? What do you do?
I read every single comment I get all the time. And
Mr.
I make it a
Mr.
point
Chambers
to...
Army, go, spam. No, I'm just kidding.
And I try to reply. If there's like a question or it seems like I need to reply, I will reply to like everything.
That's rad. Have you ever thought about uploading more than just Technical Dave? Like maybe just doing smaller content, like podcasty kind of things, kind of like we're doing right here?
I have, but I wasn't really sure like what it would even be. I wouldn't stop myself if I were going to, but yeah, I was like, oh, I should do something. What? I don't know. This is my brain having a conversation with itself. Yeah, I wouldn't even be sure what it would be, but if I were going to, I would just do it. I mean, hell, it's my channel.
Yeah, fair. Okay, I promise just 2 more quick questions, okay?
You can ask as many quick questions as you like, baby.
Okay. To anybody who hasn't seen Tech Dave yet, can you give us a pitch? Like, pitch the show.
All right. Technical Dave is one guy studying his life through art school because he was very unsatisfied with how it was appearing in media. It's either a big joke or it's people taking themselves too seriously. And he's like, hey, I bet I could do this way more accurately. And also a whole lot of pictures of boobs and penises.
It's true.
And while he does it, maybe analyze a little something about himself at the same time.
Okay, fantastic. I like that. I like that you can't do anything. You can't like talk about your own work without layers of irony. That's that's something I've always liked about you. How you have to like do some sort of some cheeky 30s advertising.
Well, I don't want to take myself too seriously. Then I'd be everything I hate.
Whoa. Yeah, we're getting into layers of meta here that we're just gonna start.
I'm sorry.
every time with you. Okay, so the final question is, if you can go back in time and tell little Dave,
then that would be awesome.
Then that would be cool. The end. But if you can go back in time, tell little Dave anything before becoming an artist, and by little Dave I mean like our subscribers here that are just getting the art or whatever they're pursuing. What would that thing be, if there is a thing?
Okay, if I could go back to like 18-year-old Dave and tell him like one thing. One thing? We're going with one thing?
You can do multiple. I mean, run with it. The world's your freaking pony here.
Number 1, stock up on canned goods. It's gonna get rough. I would say meet everybody. Your wife is 9 years old right now, so don't bother fooling around with a whole bunch of people, because it ain't gonna work out. She's dying now.
I hear her dying in the background.
Yeah, don't worry about chasing girls, just focus on the art. Try a whole bunch of different things. You know, get to meet all the people you can. Stop being so grumpy. Being grumpy won't help you. You're gonna look back with some serious cringe goggles at the grumpiness. Learn a whole bunch of software. That whole internet and computer thing, that ain't going away. And just have fun with it. You know, just have fun.
And invest in Bitcoin.
Invest heavily in Bitcoin, Apple computers, the Chinese.
The Chinese.
Yeah, all sorts of Back to the Future, racing, gambling, sort of time-breaking things. I guess I should avoid those.
That's good advice, man. Hey, you playing any games right now? I'm just curious.
Am I? Oh,
this is just for me. I just want to know this.
I just got Metro, which I've been meaning to play for years.
Oh, the new Metro.
No, I wanted to play the new one, so I figured I should start from the beginning.
How is it?
It's good. It's a little slow, but it's the first one, and I know like it wasn't like a AAA title when it came out.
Oh, okay. Do you know what I recommend you get? Do you got a good gaming PC?
I do have a good gaming PC, and
I think
I'm
I already
upgrading
messaged you about this, right? The
yes, Outer. I know it looks amazing, and I want it, but I don't really have the
amazing.
time for that stuff now because I just moved, and you know, we finally just got like the house all set up. And,
dude, good for you guys.
Jobs and, yeah,
Heck yeah.
it feels like home. You cozy here?
What part of Canada are you living in right now? If you don't mind me asking, this is a
I
podcast.
We live in Hamilton, which is the next city over from Toronto, because Toronto's like ridiculously expensive.
Well, that's rad.
Yeah, so like we got a nice house here for roughly 400K Canadian, and
wow.
this same house in Toronto would easily be 800K.
I don't know the conversion, but that's either
Hannah's saying
cheap or it's not.
$1 million. You think? Really?
Yeah, no.
Well, how much is it?
Size,
Oh, she looked it up. Apparently, a house this size is $1 million in Toronto.
It will probably even be more than that.
Wow.
Got, like, the
So
floors.
Hamilton is totally the cheaper option, and it's one of those up and coming places. So it was just a lot more little. You can get shanked here really easily, but hey, it's coming around. Still the highest in the world, but we're working on it.
Let me know if they put a Whole Foods there. Then I'll know they're up and coming.
Soda sopa.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't have a Whole Foods, but we do have a hole in like the wall of every building on the street.
And you can put food in there.
Yeah.
Okay, Dave, thank you. I'm just like making small talk with you because I haven't talked with you forever. So this isn't podcasty stuff right now. So thank you so much for coming on. You can check out Technical Dave on his YouTube channel. Link in the description. Link at the end of the video as well. Dave, is there anything else you want to say? Anything you want to add?
Keep your stick on the ice, and doot.
Yeah.
Gosh, you missed your cue.
What? What was I supposed to do there? Is this some sort of Canadian thing?
Oh my God! You don't know shaving a haircut?
Shaving a haircut? No, what is this? Thank you guys so much for making it all the way through the first episode, through the first podcast. That's amazing. Big thank you to all my patrons. Thank you so much for the support. Without them, I don't know if I'd have the motivation to keep doing this, but the fact that people want to support me and you guys keep coming and watching this new stuff, it's amazing. Thank you guys so much. If you want to support me on Patreon, links in the description. Go check out my page. I have fun rewards like tutorials, personalized gifts, and it really keeps me connected with you guys as well as supports me. Thank you guys for subscribing and clicking the like button. Clicking that like button shows YouTube that you like this content, and it'll show more people. So do that if you like it. Also, if you guys have any ideas for who you'd like to see me interviewed next, hit me up with that in the comments as well. And yeah, thanks for checking this out.